Was that a vision I just saw? Part two. If you'd like to find out, stick around. Pull up a chair, pour a mug. You're having coffee with the prophet. This week we're doing part two on the series of vision. Last week we dealt with open vision, dealing with Paul on his road to Damascus, which was Saul, but through his transformation he became Paul. And we shared that was an open vision. We'll get more deeper into that a little later on, but I want to lay the foundation for where we're going. It's always about laying that foundation. Now, coming from Daniel, which is our key scripture, 2:17, it says this. Daniel 2:7, okay, says this. As for these four children, God gave them knowledge and skill in all learning and wisdom. And Daniel had understanding in all visions and dreams. So we see that dreaming or in dream interpretation, there's a skill behind it. There's a gift and there's a skill from that aspect. Now, today we're going to be coming from Acts 10th chapter, the 9th somewhere through the 20th. But we're going to be dealing with Peter on the housetop, and we're going to be dealing today with a trance vision. And we'll get more into that after reading the scripture and start breaking things down and saying what that actually means. As always, we're coming from the King James Version for those that eventually want to read along with me. Starting at the 10 and 9, it says this. On tomorrow, as they went on their journey and drew nigh unto the city, Peter went up upon the housetop to pray about the 6th hour. And he became very hungry and would have eaten. But while they made ready, he felt into a trance and saw heaven open, and a certain vessel descending unto him, as it had been a great sheet kite at the four corners, and let down to the earth, wherein were all matters of four-footed beasts of the earth, and wild beasts, and creeping things, and fowl of the air. And there came a voice to him, Rise, Peter, kill and eat. But Peter said, Not so, Lord, for I have never eaten anything that is common or unclean. And the voice spoke unto him again the second time, What God has cleansed, that call not thy common. This was done thrice, and the vessel was received up again into heaven. Now while Peter doubted in himself what this vision which he had seen should mean, behold, the men which were sent forth, Cornelius had made inquiries for Simon's house, and said before the gate, and called and asked whether Simon, which was surnamed Peter, was lodging there. While Peter thought on the vision, the Spirit said unto him, Behold, 3 men seeketh thee. Arise, therefore, and get thee down and go while with them, doubting nothing, for I have sent them. We want to deal with a trance vision today. As I shared with the other teaching last week, that a vision can come from out of nowhere. When you least expect it, a vision can come. With Peter now, he's on a housetop. His mind is somewhere else. It said that he would, so obviously he was tired. It said that he would have eaten something, but what had happened, he fell into a trance. Now, when you fall into a trance, the difference between the trance and the open vision, I shared where the open vision, you can have an open vision wide awoke. While you're driving, you're looking around, you're looking at someone. Uh, you can be sitting down and see almost like an angel or something in the atmosphere. But see, a trance vision is different. Where with a trance vision, what happens is you're suspended between two realms. So you're suspended between the spirit realm and the natural realm. And that's what happens when you fall into a trance. Now, when you fall into a trance, now, in other words, and you never know how that trance comes. So, in other words, I could be sitting down having a conversation with you, and you may fall into that trance, that vision, and I'm talking to you, but I realize that you're after what? You're not responding to me. And you might come out of that vision and start explaining to me what's going on, what's taking place. So you're not necessarily conscious of the natural while you're in that transit state, if that makes any sense. So as always, when God gives you these visions, or these visions come, it just don't happen simply to come. Everyone, especially when you see in the Bible from a biblical, because we're teaching from the Bible, that every time someone had received the vision, their whole life was transformed. They wind up going into a different direction. And I share with you, in my life, I have had a few visions, and they transformed me. It was a whole different direction of greater revelation, insight from this particular vision. Now, I want you to really see something so what happens was now, so God was preparing him for something. A lot of times, pay attention, like I said, with your dreams as well as visions. A lot of times you got to be sensitive to enough to where you're at, what's going on in your life at this particular time. Now, Peter was on a journey. Now, his thing was, he was delivering the gospel, right? If you want to say that. So, but God he wasn't finished with him. So a lot of times we might have a vision to do something. There's some things in our heart. And what happens, whatever that thing is. And see, and what I'm sharing with you to give you this perspective, because I want to show you, if anything, I really want you to get to a place that you understand how to walk dreams and visions out. God don't give that to us, or that doesn't happen to us just to stay up into the clouds or in the sky or in the spirit realm. It mirrors what's going on in our lives in the natural. So I want you to really see and begin to understand that from that aspect. So now, when he received this, he said, Lord told him God told him to kill and eat. No, Lord, I've never eaten anything common or unclean. So what was he doing? He was messing with his perspective, his mindset. So in other words, for you to carry out this mission that I've ordained you, there has to be a change in your mentality. In other words, your perspective, the way you see and understand certain things. Peter, this job that you have, you can't have prejudice in your heart, because what I'm calling you to do is to break the norm of what you used to doing, perhaps the way you was raised, what mom and daddy or whatever told you. See, a lot of times what happens is we have to get away from our perspective or the past to move into the future. So he was changing Peter, he was changing his mindset. In other words, he says, what I've cleansed, not call that common. In other words, you've got to understand that something is about ready to happen and take place for the transformation to take place in your life. Now, watch this. What he did when we look at Paul on the road to Damascus, Actually, it was Saul, and then he became Paul, right, on the road to Damascus. What happens, he changed his direction. So a lot of times we can be going one way, and God says, no, you got to go this way because this is what I've ordained or predestinated for you at this particular time. So he changed the Apostle Paul direction. Watch this. But with Peter, he changed his perspective. Now watch this. So where do you find yourself at? To pursue whatever that dream is in your life. The things you need to do, what's in your heart. I don't know what's in there. I don't know if there's a book, if there's a song, if there's a business, if there's a personal relationship. I don't know what it is that you're dealing with from that aspect. But let me ask you this question. Could it be that, first of all, you need to change your direction or your perspective? Maybe both. Think about it. I want you to give some thought. Think about that from that perspective. Hey, listen, as always, if this has been a blessing to you, subscribe, leave a comment, a like. But remember, while you're pondering with that thought, could it be a possibility that God is doing something in your heart right now? Are you preparing yourself? Could it be a dream? Could it be a vision? Hey, you've been having coffee with the prophet.